All right. I am now joined by Cole James Cash of Means TV, the Cole James Cash Show, who, and among other things, is the source of that music that we just listened to. How you doing today, Cole?
First of all, I did that was a session, so I was just one person in that session. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take the credit, bro, for the whole thing. I played every instrument, not just piano. But yeah, first of all, Ben, before I get to anything, man, you know about the cyberpunk craze, right? So
That's Cyberpunk?
Yeah, the Cyberpunk 2077 game that's out right now.
Okay, yeah.
So tell me why there's a Gramsci Burgers in the game, man. Yeah. There's a Gramsci. I'm trying to get 20 franchises, man. But yeah, Ben, good to see you again. It was about a month and a half ago, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Hold on, grab my mic. Grab my mic. But thank you for having me on. I've been trying to set this up for a minute. Ben, I know you're a busy dude, and remember I used to joke with you and Mike. I'll be like, Benny, he's hungry, man. He's hungry. He's out here, man. And it's true. You're always out here doing something, man. You're always out here staying busy, whether it be putting people in their place debate-wise, man. Even people who don't like you, okay, have admitted like, yo, Ben is good when it comes to, bringing people to light to this, and this. So, Ben, it shows in your work, man. No one can take away the work that you do, no matter how people feel about you, because plenty of people don't like my ass. So that's why I'm saying this.
Well, fair enough. So I saw. Let me just pull this up. There was a so yeah, we've been talking about having you back on for a little while. I know you had some thoughts about the election, and the thing that immediately made me think this is time to get Cole back on because this would be pretty funny. Is a tweet that you did about Neera Tanden. So this is people who people who might not be I think everybody is, honestly, but just in case anybody actually isn't familiar with this person. So Neera Tanden was somebody who came out of the Clinton administration, and she's denied that she was involved in welfare reform in the Clinton administration. But like what came out of the Clinton administration, what she said also didn't quite add up in terms of where she said she was and what she was doing. Since then, she founded something, or she's the head of something called the Center for American Progress, which sounds good. Progress, who doesn't like that? But then once you start taking a look at the Center for American Progress, they get tons of money from Wall Street, tons of money from like the United Arab Emirates, places like that, and they have a history of doing things like she was like very opposed to Medicare for all when it came up in the Democratic platform committee, and maybe most memorably, this is this part is like almost unbelievable, but she had in an email that was leaked by a former employee of the Center for American Progress, who, by the way, the reason this person leaked it is because this is the same staffer who she punched for asking Hillary Clinton a question about the Iraq War.
Wait, she for real punched her?
What's that?
She punched her for real?
Yeah. She actually. Well, okay. So there's a dispute here. So the staffer said, so the story that came out was that she punched the staffer for asking this like impertinent question about Hillary Clinton about the Iraq War. Neera's story is that she says, I didn't punch them, I just pushed them. So whatever, like there was some, there's a dispute, about how far it went, but she got very angry at this particular staffer for asking Hillary Clinton this question.
Hold on, Ben, I'm going to interrupt you. So there's a meter to this. There's that. Okay, the meter is actually getting punished like Richard Spencer, or did she get Michael Tracy'd? I mean, there's a fine line. Okay, we need to investigate this.
Yeah, fair question, right? So I didn't see it happening, so I couldn't, I couldn't tell you. how where it was on the Tracy to Spencer spectrum. I actually never saw what happened with Tracy. I heard about it. The Richard Spencer thing, I'll admit to having watched about 700 times.
Why you sound like Bill Clinton? Like, I'll admit to. You like you didn't inhale, bro. Everyone.
Yeah, okay. I smoked the Spencer Punch video and I inhaled, and I've seen hundreds of remixes of it, and things set to different music. I mean, whatever else you want to say about that, like I not that I think Richard Spencer is capable of reflection, but like if he was, like that would be something to think about, like, living your life such that if somebody punches you in the face, it doesn't bring joy to like millions of people watching YouTube videos.
Yes.
And the same staffer who Neera Tanden pushed or punched, whatever happened there, then leaked a email where Tanden suggested that Libya, post-regime change, that it's some of its oil money be taken to pay back the United States for bombing the country, which sounds like something that Donald Trump might say.
Mask off, baby. Let's go.
So I saw you tweeted about this, and the context, I can't find the tweet just off right here, but it was something like this. It was something about people saying that, look at all of these white leftists who are upset at Neera Tanden, because they can't stand to see this like strong, powerful woman of color, ascend to this position of leadership. And your position and your answer was, and you responded by saying something like, if I'm remembering this right, I'm black. I think Neera Tanden is a scumbag. Then again, I'm a scumbag. So, if you want to hit me up for dinner and wine, I'm up for it.
I would say that's a good way to condense it. Basically, my buddy, man who commands much respect, even in my DSA, the East Bay DSA out in Chicago, Kenzo Shibata. Basically, she was saying that he was ugly, right? Now, me being 6'3" and extremely handsome, one of the most handsomest men on the left, that I'm willing to debate Hassan about if he's got the courage. But yeah, basically I was like joking, saying, well, I'm a handsome guy, I'm black. And Neera Tanden I said she was a garbage human being and a union buster and with no morals. And I said, but I don't have morals and you kind of cute. So let's get drunk on your dime, possibly some wine. I'm trying to turn up, man. I'm broke out here. Everybody broke out here, man. Since you got it like that, and so it was just my way of like, making a joke to something that she's union busted. She's union busted. And I don't respect any type of scabbery or any of that other type of stuff, And one key point I wanted to bring up is that there's this like discourse of how important did Twitter play a factor in Neera Tanden? I'm thinking, bro, she's been around since she was 18 years old, volunteering for Michael Dukakis. She's been around. She's highly connected. Just because that's like saying like, oh yeah, the Krasenstein brothers really should consider like, no, man, like these people have been connected and they've been around forever. You're not going to Seth Abramson your way into these administrative positions. You have to have connections and you have to been around for a minute. The neoliberal establishment isn't just going to be like, and I hate saying that because I feel like I sound so corny saying that, but the neoliberal establishment isn't just going to let nobody from Twitter in. It's like, who's your father? What club were they in? Or what they do? No one cares that you stuck your neck out on the line for Hillary Clinton. They care about what connections do you have because we're trying to maintain power, we're trying to maintain money, and we're trying to maintain this thing that we had going that was good when Barack was around and Trump took the mask off of it. So we need to put that mask back on. We need that, remember the normalcy. So I just wanted to dead this idea that somehow Twitter and her tweeting had anything to do with anything. No, she's connected.
Yeah, so let's talk about why some people think that it does, since people who aren't way too online might not know some of this stuff. But Neera Tanden, I believe she actually joined Twitter after Trump did, but she's tweeted more times than Trump in that time. So she is tweeting constantly, and a lot of that has been directed at like the left, the Bernie movement, She was one of the she's one of the harshest critics of that movement, and really pushing the idea that people were just supporting Bernie over Hillary in 2016 because they were sexist Bernie bros, and like everybody who is a left-wing Twitter account with lots of followers has had some sort of run-in with Neera, because she's, she doesn't like, I remember talking to our late friend Michael about this once.
Oh God, he hated her, bro.
Yeah, he did. And it's also funny, because knowing Michael, like, from even for him, like, part of his explicit perspective on this was, you shouldn't like get into arguments with with like random people on Twitter. It's like it's a bad look. It's bad for the brand. Like that was his position. Neera Tanden did not have this position about herself. She spent the last few years just fighting with anybody all the time on Twitter. And just again is just being like one of the most bare knuckle brawlerist kind of Hillary surrogates.
I respect it.
Biden surrogates.
Yeah, I respect it, man.
And so because of that, I think some people look at this and they think, well, hold on. So they're picking Neera Tanden for the Office of Management and Budget. And since Bernie Sanders, I think like if the Democrats regain control of the Senate, is like the chair of the budget committee, so he would have to play a big role in like shepherding her confirmation through the Senate. And so some people look at that and they think, okay, well, this is just like a way of kind of sticking like Bernie's like head, like nose in the dirt, that like we're gonna make you help us like confirm this person who spent the last 4 years talking shit about you on Twitter. But there is another like way to look at this, which is actually even worse. Right? I was talking to Branko Marcetic about this last week, which is that, look, which is worse, if they're doing Neera Tanden like as a little fuck you to the left, or if what leftists think about Neera Tanden is so far off their radar, they just don't give a shit one way or the other, that like it's just not even a factor for them. They probably think, oh, she's the head of the Center for American Progress, like they'll like her, and they or they just don't care, right? Because why would they? And this goes with what you're saying, that like if she's basically being given this position because she's been a member of the club, in ways that matter a lot more than Twitter, since whatever you said, 1988, then they just don't, they just don't care, right? It couldn't matter less to them what anybody in the Bernie wing or on the left, thinks about any of this stuff, because they won, and why should they care?
I would say this is that when I casted my vote for Joe Biden, I spoke with David Griscom and Jamie Peck and my boy Adam Hudson about this. We had a discussion about, what to do. What should casual voters do about this? What should they do if Trump wins? This and that. And I am a firm believer in what they all said, which was we were only delaying the inevitable fascism. We were buying time. I am a firm believer of this. When I casted my vote, I expected this. What I did was I tried to buy some time for my kid's mom, who's not a citizen, to try to keep her out of that cage, or things like that. We're buying time. So the only thing we can do, because no, they don't care. Why would they? Why would they care? It's like, for instance, like Ben, like,
yeah,
you my man. If someone says, hey, you know what, Ben this and this and this, and Ben this and this, I'll be like, and bro, you better show me video evidence of a snuff film before I'm abandon Ben Burgess, man. It's that same mentality, only we're not hurting anyone.
Right.
We are. When Neera was talking about, cutting Social Security and this and that, basically she was on Paul Ryan's squadron. These people are okay with that. And when you talk about they don't care, hell no, they don't. If, like I said, Ben, if someone DMs you and says, Cole James Cash, blah, 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 you'll be like, I don't give a fuck,
Yeah. Well, trust me, that's not hypothetical.
Yeah. I know. Same with you. It's like whatever discourse, whatever, it's going to be whatever. The difference is that they're hurting people. Right. they're hurting people. And it's like, you know, and for me, these types of characters, they're gonna sneak in because sadly, I hate to say it, and I'm complicit because I did vote for it because anything was better than what Stephen Miller had planned second term.
Yeah, I mean, look, I voted, you know, I voted for Biden too. I live in a swing state, so you know, I sucked it up and cast that vote. I mean, look, which I've done. You know, my position, you know, for the last few years has been that I think that it matters. I think it matters for the left. I think it matters in terms of the harm reduction stuff you're talking about, and I think it matters. You know, I think it matters which kind of enemy we're fighting, and so I'm willing to make those calculations. The voting booth, and hey, you know, when I lived in New Jersey, I voted for some Democrats in New Jersey who I'm pretty sure are probably like connected guys. So like I probably voted for people worse than Joe Biden, but but in any case, yeah, look, I think that, you know, that always made sense to me. You know, I think, you know, that I think that people get a little bit too used to, and I do agree with you that it is like it's delaying, not stopping, and that's an important distinction that we're,
yes.
You know, because if you do, right, like, I mean, I wrote something for Jackman about this, like, even if you think that somehow Joe Biden becoming president is going to like magically hit the reset button so we can go back to 2009, which obviously it's not, and it can't, right? Like, you know, everything that's happened since then has happened. You can't, you know, like you can't stuff the toothpaste back in the tube. But even if it did, okay, well, we know how that story ended then, right? Like it ended with Trump. That after 8 years of Obama and everything that happened under Obama and you know the bailouts for Wall Street and, you know, big companies and the neglect of everybody else, that, you know, that Trump happened at the end of that story. And I don't see any reason to think that this time, you know, we won't get the same ending unless we can somehow, you know, build up some kind of alternative between now and then, you know, so that could actually, you know, that could actually beat, you know, the Bidens of the world, which is a tall order, but like, hey, let's at least give ourselves a few more years to try. And I think that people oftentimes, you know, people on the left who disagreed, right? Like, and
Yes.
I don't know. I think Griskin was actually on the same page, but you know, or maybe he, you know, it's, you know, like that's the sense I you know, I got from my conversations with him about it, but you know, people who disagreed like would say all this like accurate stuff about Biden, you know, like they'd say completely true things about how bad Biden was.
Yeah.
And they weren't wrong to think that. But it is also true that there are significant, like there are differences that matter, not because both of these people don't represent you know, the class enemy, you know, the ruling class, like they do, but they represent different strategies, you know, for the ruling class. So like we were talking about union busting earlier with Neera, and the strategy of like your sort of Clinton, Obama, Biden kind of centrist Democrats. Sure, they might try to weaken unions in certain ways. They'll certainly oppose them if somebody tries to organize one at the Center for American Progress. They'll sign free trade agreements that really undermine the bargaining power of, you know, big industrial unions. They'll do all that stuff, right? But what they're not going to do is they're not going to appoint people to the courts and appoint people to the National Labor Relations Board who are going to try to like aggressively stamp out like the unions that already exist. And we know that because we can look at like what the people Obama appointed versus the people that Trump appointed. And I think that that's something, look, any kind of hope for the future relies on having an organized working class. So that made sense to me. And also, yeah, when you think about stuff like DACA, you know, recipients, trying not to, you know, like those people not being deported, and a lot of the like environmental and worker safety stuff, you know, like those things, you know, those things are important, right? Like, so even though, you know, Trump didn't succeed in, you know, deporting as many people as Obama, partially because Well, actually, partially because for some of that time, fewer people were coming over because the American economy was so bad. But also partially because there was so much local resistance and cities that wouldn't cooperate with ICE and all that stuff, and some of that stuff had been building for years.
Like over here, I'm in the Bay Area. I'm going to cut you off, Ben. I'm in the Bay Area. Oh, there was absolutely a network of mayors and things like that were like, this is what's happening on this day, etc. And I know you're familiar with Stephen Robbins, aka Ronald Reagan, who's an immigration lawyer. Like, me and him are deeply embedded in the Latino community. Both of us speak Spanish, etc. It's like, it is less people coming over, and people are afraid, and so like there are less people coming over here and things like that, and it's not helpful. It is not helpful in any way, shape, or form. I agree with a lot of what you're saying in terms of, that we do need to build some sort of coalition. Now, you and I may disagree on how to build that because, my politics are more in the Jamie Peck extremist section, extreme communism section. I'm just joking. But yeah, my politics are more on her end, Yeah. But of course, and then I look to my man Griscom, because Griscom, let me just tell you, that's a swagged out Texan right there, man. School you and take your girl, man, with cowboy boots on, man. Man,
Heard it here first.
Yeah, and so basically, my politics are very much aligned with them. And then, of course, my man Adam Hudson on that same broadcast I had, he said that this is where they all agreed. They're like, the Democratic Party is the enemy of Black people, and they were all just like, yes, And it's amazing. This is what I'm segueing into the main topic, which is the Black votership.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that at this point, okay, for one, Black voters are not a monolith. Okay,
right.
Not a monolith. Now, is there a certain code a lot of us follow? Yeah. And also, I don't like to people be like, well, aren't you a Black Latino? Latino is just a word, bro. It's just a word. Ben could be Latin. His name could be Ben Burgess von Anstutz from freaking Peru. It's just a word. It encompasses a lot of different races. I'm not going to throw myself in there with these white Cubans who lost their land. So with that said, Black people are not a monolith. So what you're noticing now is that there is more messaging towards, and the Republicans were a little bit successful in sort of pushing this line that, we have messages that we're pushing. This is what we're going to do. And it's a bullshit fantasy. Like, look at all the Black unemployment. It's that, like, you see the same lines. And you know what the best part is? They would trot out like fine ass like Katrina Pearson to come out and give us just straight bullshit, Now, let's say 80% of the people, 80% of Black folks like, because you monetize your YouTube show, I'm not going to repeat it. Whereas on my show, I don't care. But then you have another 20% that's like, you know what? The Republicans did end slavery. They're right. Like, you'll get 20% of people who are just ignorant as hell politically. Now, I say ignorant as hell politically because the fact is that Ben, you and I love politics. I've been in this my whole life, my entire life. My dad, as much of a deadbeat as he is, he's a socialist. And so it's like, we love this. But imagine like the intricacies of chemistry and knowing that world in and out. We don't know shit, so it's just whatever to us. That's how politics is to most people. So I'm like amazed by Neil deGrasse Tyson, whereas actual people were in the science, like, bro, you stupid. This is why he dumb. Blah blah blah. You see what I'm saying?
No, for sure. Yeah. By the way, Jamie is a friend. I have no problem with extreme communism. I'm just trying to
friends, bro.
I'm just I am trying to push something I think could happen a little sooner, but that's a larger discussion. So I mean, I think the thing that you said about black voters, is significant, for a couple of reasons, right? So one of them, like, this is something that drove me crazy. I like right after the election, like not like a few days after the election when it was finally called, like on that Saturday or whatever, they finally called the election on the networks. I was, since I was visiting my parents, so they were watching MSNBC, so I watched like a few minutes of MSNBC with them, and on MSNBC they were talking about the primaries, and Rachel Maddow was talking about that moment in South Carolina when when Biden won South Carolina, and that was the beginning of his climb to the presidency. And she said, well, it's because Jim Clyburn endorsing Biden, and he has his ear to what black voters want. And the way she was talking about it, the way she was using this phrase "black voters," was like, does Rachel Maddow think that black voters are like a hive mind? They're like the Borg or something, like that. Like literally, it sounded like that. Which
Ben, let me go ahead and chime in. Okay, sorry I don't interrupt you because I do have limited time. I apologize, but basically, Ben, like, here's what I need to explain to people too: is that Joe Biden's familiarity is what won. Bernie really needed to put more effort into showing his face down south. You've seen the think pieces. People need to see him. Now we know what's in Bernie's heart. We know he's there, but everybody else don't know that. You got to show your face. Now, people knew who Biden was, so they rocked with it. They're like, well, Obama, I liked Obama. Might as well rock with Biden. You have to show your face. People have to know what you're going to do. And here's another thing. Here's what frustrates me. And now, Ben, you can never chime in, but me and other black folks chime in all the time. There's this thing about there was this thing about blaming black males for like 18% Trump turnout, It's like there was this argument. I know you saw it, Ben. There's argument about like with these liberal like black pundits, like black males, blah blah blah. And it's like, bro, like why are 81% of us being blamed for the actions of like 18%, man? Like it's such a tiny percentage. Like,
well, it's also weird in general. Like I mean, the way we talk about voting, like when people say. Like even when people say things like, oh, white women voted for Trump, it's like, well, yeah, like 53% did and 47% didn't. You're talking about tens and like how many tens of millions of people. It's just a weird way to talk about it, as if as if they all caucus together and then one of them cast the official white women vote. Like like and it's important both because like a lot of this like essentialism where you talk about some huge group of the population as if it was all one thing is just weird. Like it's just analytically wrong and it's like kind of like reactionary and racist anyway. And then also certainly from a from a socialist perspective, it's bad because it completely flattens like everything that we care about. Like that within an entire group of the population like this, you're going to have, you're going to have workers, you're going to have bosses, you're going to have landlords, you're going to have tenants, you're going to have, like DNC hacks who are, conspiring with Neera Tanden to stop the Medicare for All from getting onto the platform. And you're going to have protesters who are being gassed, tear gassed on the orders of Democratic mayors who might also be black. It's like that you're talking about a giant group of people who aren't going to have all the same class interests and certainly aren't all going to have the same ideology or views or anything like that. And it's just a bizarre expectation that they would, for any big group, like this. It's just a weird way to look at the world. But since I know you do have limited time, I want to make sure before we get too much further on that we get a chance for you to plug everything that you've got coming up, Means TV and all that stuff.
Well, one thing I wanted to say too is that when I remember the election night, you were like, "Hey, can you come on?" And I was like, "Yo, Ben, I'm literally out here still making sure there's no ballots to be collected for City Councilman Carol Fife." I was out there until 7:45 p.m. election night. Because I was like, Carol Fife is just too important. She won, is a DSA candidate. I mean, DSA candidates clean house. And here's what I did, a big thing I want to say. And this is, I've been trying to get into Call Sam show, and it's damn near impossible for me to get through. Because he was making a disagreement about defund the police and things like that. But what I want to say is this.
Which is sad because some people might not know that, but Sam Cedar is actually your biological father.
Yes. Yeah. My dad and another question I need to ask him is, since I'm half Jewish, how much of the media do I control at the moment? That was a Reagan joke, but he threw that at me. I was dying. But basically, when people know what you're going to do, when there's sincerity behind the messaging, you win. Because this idea that, defund the police doesn't win, who ran under that and lost? Name one candidate, you know? It's how does the squad keep winning when we know what they're about? Why? Because we know what they're about. The sincerity is there. The messaging has to come with sincerity. Donald Trump is sincere about making people of color's lives bad, and people know it. He has this fantasy way of he's going to do it, but people believe in it because there's messaging behind it. You have to have messaging behind what you say. People have to know you're sincere. When you're sincere, people will turn out for you. They'll come to see you. They'll come and, you know, but if you're just going to run against someone else, that's not a winning strategy, you know? So with that said, I want to give a big shout out to Forrest Miller.
Yeah.
When my show goes 5 days a week in a couple weeks, he will be a film correspondent. He's just like, it's almost the same thing like what you do, except I'm going to be choosing different movies. Like, for instance, I'm like, yo, first movie we're going to talk about is The Founder. You ever seen that?
No, never.
Founder is awesome, dude. It was hilarious. He thought it was McDonald's propaganda. I'm like, boy, no, it's not, man. No, it's not. The Founder was a really, really good movie. And Michael Keaton is a scumbag. He goes from like regular salesman to just complete piece of garbage. And I loved it. Michael Keaton's the best, man.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you said that, you know, because that's like when you posted that Forrest was going to be doing that. Then, you know, since Forrest has been the, you know, producer for the show since it started, you know, but I had no idea that he was interested in doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I texted him, you know, like right after I saw it, I was like, congratulations. And also I didn't know this is something you want to do. You should come on here and start doing some movie streams.
Yep. And then the next thing, guys, is that, you know, I haven't been really pushing my Patreon because I've been in a shift right now, deciding what show is going to be what, because there is my Means TV show. It's in development. Big shout out to Nick and Naomi, my man's at Southpaw Sports. Everybody else over at Means, you can sign up over at means.tv. But my Patreon, guys, if you want to support Black and Latino businesses and you have $2, and if you are going to go to Starbucks tomorrow morning, just know that $2 could have gone towards a Black and Latino business that doesn't kick Black people out when they're trying to have business meetings. I know that was 2 years ago, but I don't care. I'm using the joke anyway. But yeah, patreon.com/Cole James Cash Show. You can become a patron for as little as $2 because we going full time. I'm going literally starting at 3:30, either 3:30 or 4 p.m. Eastern time, as not to compete with my father, mentor, deadbeat dad, Sam Cedar. You know, it's literally so I won't compete. Yeah, you saw my 20-person team, correct? Yeah, it's a stacked team, man. And Ben, you're a busy dude. Otherwise, I'd have recruited you. But nah, Ben, you one of them once every couple months, like big name guests. But most of the people I recruited are activists. My show is not so much about what Ben does. I love coming on and talking to Ben. What you know, when it comes to national things and things like that. Mine is local. Mine is what's the issue? Okay, what are we going to do about it? Which orgs are going to support this and fight this? Mine is at the ground level. So Ben will bring something to the national conversation. Then you come to my show and it's like, okay, you know what? Ben was just talking about this. Here's what we can do at the local level to get this done. That's what my show's about. So every one of these shows to me is a gateway into action. You know what I mean? It's a gateway into action. And Ben, you know how much respect I have for you. I just want to say this, man. And I texted this to you. You have no reason to continue rocking with me. You know, you did it because under Michael's suggestion, things like that. But for you to continue when I had no audience whatsoever, you guessed it on my show. So no one can say that you don't live, you know, the morals and the ethics of what helping each other and bringing people up are about, because you've done that. And I want to thank you for continuing to elevate me into this position. And, you know, even as I'm rebuilding, even though, yeah, I'm assigned, you know, whatever, as you know, this don't pay exactly $1 million. I want to thank you for doing that. Okay, nobody say, remember, Ben, it shows in your work. No one can say Ben is not putting in the work and is not trying to educate folks and not trying to bring this at a higher level, because Ben, you're already busy let alone do the show, you know? So I want to thank you for that, Ben. And I want to thank you for helping me keep our friend's legacy alive, because we built a big tent. Because as you know, what I do is the opposite of what you do, but we're in the same crew. So, you know, I really, really appreciate you trying to, you know, continue to big that big tent that Michael was trying to do, because I'm certainly doing it, you know, for real. I'm certainly doing it. So thank you for your help, Ben. Thanks for putting me on.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. I always really appreciate it.
Always, man. Holla at you, man. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. That was Cole James Cash, host of the Cole James Cash Show. Lots of exciting stuff coming up there. Also, again, the person who gave me the music for this show, although, of course, as he points out, it's a session. It's not like he's played every instrument, but he's a very talented musical artist and somebody who I always enjoy talking to and I always enjoy hearing from. I am going to stick around for just a few minutes. I'll talk a little bit about some upcoming stuff and some changes in the works, and then some upcoming guests, and also if anybody wants to throw up a quick chat or super chat question, I'd be happy to answer a couple questions before I get off. I should probably wrap up by like 6. But yeah, real quick. So just want to say in terms of what is coming up in the immediate future, the next episode, episode of the main show is going to be premiering, of course, as always, on Monday at 7:30 Eastern Time. And the great Anna Kasparian is going to be back for that. And before I talk to Anna, I am going to be debating a libertarian named Jason Lee Bias. So that's going on. That's the next episode. The episode after that is going to be Amber Ali Frost from Chapo and Slavoj Žižek. So that should be a lot of fun. The week after that, is we're going to take off because that's the week between Christmas and New Year's. But then when we're back in January, we're going to be making some format changes that I'm going to be talking about very soon. But I can announce right now that the first it's going to be that same time slot, 7:30 on Mondays. But in any case, the first guest when we come back in January is going to be Richard Wolff. So that should be a really fun conversation. Really looking forward to that. Always really enjoy talking to Professor Wolff. I just did a thing with him on Tuesday, with him and Mark Blythe and David Griskin moderating for what used to be the TMBS channels, the Michael Brooks Legacy Project, whatever they're calling it now. So that was a lot of fun. You can check that out, and then again, Wolf will be on the show in January. Michael Albert is also going to be on the show sometime in January. And I believe also Peter Hitchens, which should be fun. Hitchens, I'm least sure exactly when that's happened, but he's expressed interest in doing it, and I think that would be that'd be an interesting conversation. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Let me just look at a couple of chat questions that are already here and give people a chance to ask anything else they want me to answer real quickly before I go. Young Whippersnapper says, does anybody have opinions on groups fighting for a bigger welfare state founded by the Rockefeller Foundation? That I couldn't tell you. I'm not quite sure, what people, what's being referred to there. So let's see. Yeah, thank you. No, I really enjoyed that. See, somebody was challenging in the chat, what Cole and I were saying about electoralism, and yeah. Time for whiskey after this. I actually just got off the road, so I haven't even unpacked the bottle of Arnbig yet. But yeah, somebody was challenging the electoralism thing and saying, okay, is it really harm reduction to have terrible neoliberal centrists rather than right wing Republicans? And I think we already addressed that a little bit when I was talking to Cole, particularly on the immigration subject. I think probably the best argument you can make there is, hey, Warren, nice. Didn't even see your name there. That's awesome. Used to be my neighborhood bartender in Korea. So I think we already addressed that a little bit with Cole. But just to kind of briefly reiterate the point here. I think the best argument you can make there is you might be able to make an accelerationist case and say, okay, well, people, there was all this resistance to Trump's deportation machine, and maybe that wouldn't have happened if Hillary had won, and maybe, but I think the thing that argument misses, because it's certainly not that Trump deported fewer people than Obama because he didn't try to deport more people. If he'd had his way, he would have deported twice as many people as Obama. In fact, if you look at his policies, he really let ICE off the leash in terms of where they could do raids, etc., beyond all the extreme escalations like the child separation policy. So why did he deport fewer people than Obama? Well, the reason he deported fewer people than Obama is because of all of these efforts, I think, right? Like, I could be wrong about this. I'm open to, people can show me evidence that I'm incorrect. I'm open to that. But as far as I know, the main reason that he didn't succeed in deporting as many people as Obama was because of all this massive resistance, all these cities, towns, universities, counties, etc., that ordered their cops there not to cooperate with ICE. And so, all right, would that have still happened under Hillary? Well, I think most of it honestly would have, because I'm sure that those efforts certainly got a shot in the arm from how freaked out people were by Trump coming in with all this extreme anti-immigrant rhetoric. But honestly, I think that a lot of that was the fruit of organizing that had been going on since long before Trump took office. All these immigrant rights groups that were trying to organize, to make cities sanctuary cities and all that stuff. That was going on well before Donald Trump ever took office. There's a question Stephen Dunn asks Dr. Ben, with regards to the defund Popo case, what jobs will give the former cops? Look, I mean, I think this is actually, like, it's easy to sort of make fun of this, but honestly, I think it's a serious question because you don't really want to have this huge number. I mean, I support police defunding. I think that the idea that the first line of response for everything that happens is these armed and dangerous and violent police is bad. I'm not a police abolitionist, but I'm certainly a severe police reductionist. That a lot of things that we send cops to right now, we shouldn't. We could send counselors, social workers, and that would be better. And even if cops were the last resort, they don't have to be the first resort. Certainly if you have a city that's not funding the rest of these things, but you have a police department that has so much money in the budget that they can send 6 people, they can send 6 cops when a homeless guy falls asleep in the lobby of a corporate building, or they have so much money they can buy a tank. Instead taking away some of that money and redistributing it to other purposes makes sense to me. I will say that it doesn't. Sometimes the way people talk about this, I think, is a little bit unrealistic. And here's what I mean by that. That sometimes people talk about this as if just cutting the budgets of police departments, right, defunding, was enough to fund all this other stuff that we're talking about. Unfortunately, it's really not. I did an article for Jackman about this over the summer, and basically you could take away every penny from the budget of the NYPD and sink it all into the New York public schools, and you wouldn't even equalize the funding gap between the best funded and worst funded districts in New York. So the point is, you can't defund your way to local social democracy. You also need to jack up taxes. You just have to live with that. So yeah, Professor Wolf, first guest in January. Looking forward to it. So that said, if we did reduce the footprint of police departments as part of this overall program of funding, more nonviolent, non-carceral solutions to the social ills of poverty and tackling poverty itself and the root causes of crime, there is a real concern here about what happens when this massive number of cops in various places lose their jobs. That you do want to think twice about turning loose thousands of armed and dangerous and now unemployed Trump supporters out into the wild, which is not to say that you shouldn't do it, but it is jack up taxes. Did I say that wrong? So it's not to say that you shouldn't do it, but you should be careful about how you do it. And I don't think you should just do layoffs. I think you should keep people on the payroll while you retrain them to do other nonviolent things that, look, build some more post offices and give them jobs as, as postal workers, for example. I mean, I'm not necessarily married to that specific proposal, but I think it's the kind of thing you have to think about if you're going to do this in a reasonable way without really increasing the rate of right-wing vigilante, violence. That would be my, my 2 cents about that. I like that. Luke in chat says, what I'm saying about cops being given deference about potential jobs is that we should all be fucking armed and in a union. It clearly works. Yeah, fair enough. Well, look, the elevator operators, same deal. If the elevator operators were losing their jobs right now, I'd be aggressively advocating for a job program for them. And it's not a matter of preferential treatment. In fact, this is something that's worth talking about more. I think there are specific pragmatic reasons to worry about about the cop question, but I think that there is Friday. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. But I think that there's a much bigger thing in the background of all this. Forget the police issue. That I think the left has a big optics problem that I think we've seen evidence of in recent elections, which is that even when you talk about, I like that, shadow ban refugee says, Ben, if cops are obsessed with machismo culture, there's plenty of construction jobs. Yeah, I'm all for reemploying them as construction workers as part of massive government building projects, public sector building projects. So look, but here's the larger thing. So I'm going to stop just reading off things that make me laugh in the chat because too many people are saying too many funny things. But here's the larger point as I would see it, at least. Right now, we've got, even when you talk about people who pay enough attention to politics that they know that like Bernie and AOC are something very different from, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. Even, and what I just said already rules out lots of people, but even when you talk about people who pay enough attention to politics to understand that there is a big difference between the left and the Bernie movement on one hand and centrist Democrats on the other, when you ask those people, what does the left stand for? What does it want? And I'm not talking about people who are such political obsessives that they could start telling you about workers control the means of production. I'm just talking about people who pay enough attention to the news that they have a sense that there is something called the left that's different from the mainstream Democratic Party. And you say, okay, so what does the left stand for? What does it want? And people know that the left wants Medicare for all, which is great. It's a great start because that's one of our most popular issues. So this is, of course, what we should want people to know that we stand for. And oh yeah, I totally agree with that about Britain. I think you'd have to do a lot of other gun control as part of the process to make it realistic, but I think long term, I think Britain shows what a much more demilitarized police force could look like. Not that the police never kill anybody in Britain or that it never causes social unrest, but certainly nothing like what happens here, or even in France. There are there's the police nationale or whatever it's called, but like local like metro cops in Paris, as I understand it, don't carry guns on routine patrols. So yeah, I think that there is, I think there is evidence from other countries that you can have a much more demilitarized society where cops aren't just routinely armed every time they leave the station. But in any case, right? So yeah, people know the left wants Medicare for all. Great, good start. What else? Well, a lot of people know that the left wants something called the Green New Deal, but even a lot of the people who know that don't really know what a Green New Deal is. Like if you start asking them follow-up questions, they basically just know that it's some kind of extreme environmental something or other. And oftentimes people who are really opposed to it have been able to really supply the script about what that would mean. And it's particularly bad because a lot of people, like in Appalachia, where all of those coal mines have closed, think that, okay, extreme environmental something or other means means people losing their jobs, and maybe we'll get some bullshit technology training centers, but I mean that's just a way of the government telling you to learn to code and hoping that solves your problems. So I think that what we really need to be thinking about going forward, something the left needs to think about a lot more, is what do we want people to associate with us? Free association test, Medicare for all, Green New Deal, maybe what? And what I would say is, I think that the thing that is, maybe not extreme compared to what we need, but extreme compared to anything that's happened so far. That's the point, right? So what do we want people to associate with us? I would say something we need to push a lot harder, we need to make much more central to our messaging, is a federal jobs guarantee. Jobs for all, right? Medicare for all, jobs for all. That the government should at least be the employer of last resort for everybody, right? Not, oh, we'll give you a training center and then you can learn some skills and then hope as a unemployed middle-aged coal miner that you outcompete some 22-year-old who just got out of college for whatever job might exist on the other end. But no, the government will give you a job. Like this was something that was on the mainstream political agenda as late as the late 70s, that when Hubert Humphrey died, the Humphrey-Hawkins full employment bill was still something that, in the early Carter administration was being considered, although Carter was kind of a neoliberal shit. He's had a much better post-presidency than he had a presidency. But that would be, well, again, I think you get more people on board in Appalachia with pro-green technology than in strip mining if people were confident they would get jobs as part of the process. It has to be a package deal, just transition. So I think that we just, that would be my big pitch. We need to try much harder to make jobs for all something we talk about so much that everybody knows that it's part of our agenda. Everybody associates with us, and I think that's just something. I just think that's just something we need to do. Because especially it's such an important part of right-wing propaganda that, the right is always saying, all of these things the left wants, taxes, regulations, whatever, this is job killing, it would kill jobs. And if we just say, no, it won't, I don't think we get very far in that argument. Whereas if we say, no, in fact, we want the government to guarantee every single man and woman in the country who wants a job, that would be a vastly more powerful message. And of course, I know lots of leftists have talked about things like this. I'm talking about emphasis. I'm talking about what is it that we put front and center as the core of what we want. And that's something that I think that we really need to push hard. Artist formerly known as Rick Mahurin in the chat says, my decade-long career evaporated in March. I got $1,200. I'm indefinitely unemployed. What reason would I have to believe the Biden administration will do anything for me? None, right? I want to be super clear on this. I don't think the Biden administration is going to do anything for you. I've never thought that Biden was going to have some road to Damascus moment where he became a leftist and governed as Bernie Light or anything like that. I think that, I think that for anything, to happen for you. I mean, look, what Biden will do for you is that he won't attack your union as aggressively as Trump does if you do get a job, but it's in a unionized workplace. Biden is not a solution to anything. Biden is a slightly reduced harm. I think that should be really core. Yeah, absolutely. Zeleny Sok, right to work, a core demand of the first leftists from the French Revolution. Totally, yeah. If you go back to the 1848 revolution in France, and Louis Blanc's role there, right to work, not in the twisted sense of what it means now, that what right to work has been reappropriated by the right to be in, which is like a right not to have a labor union represent you, but right to work in the literal sense. Yeah, this is absolutely something that needs to be central to the left's agenda and to what we're talking about for us to be successful. So HG says the right to work is very difficult in a world with more automation. At least without intense redistribution. Yeah, I mean, well, let's have intense redistribution, right? That's the core of the answer. But also, like in terms of brass tacks, look, there is this whole sprawling empirical debate. I was talking about this a little bit in that thing I did on the TMBS channel on Tuesday with Wolf and Blythe and Griskin moderating, that we were talking about automation there. And there's this whole raging debate among economists about whether automation is ever going to by itself lead to long-term mass unemployment. And since I'm not an economist, I just punted on that part of the question, so I'll let the actual economists here, argue about that if they want to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for freedoms. Yep, same principle. But there is some reason to doubt that, because we've heard these predictions. You can find people in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s saying the robots are coming for all the jobs. And what's happened in the past is that some jobs are automated away. Somebody in the chat referred to elevator operators earlier, and others aren't, right? Like so, and some jobs are automated away, but then new products are developed, and that creates new jobs elsewhere. And yeah, exactly. They've been saying it since, maybe not quite the cotton gin, but it's been a very long time we've been hearing this stuff. So it's entirely possible that the stuff people are saying now, the sort of case your Andrew Yangs are making about the robots coming for all the jobs, won't come true this time, just like it didn't come through all those other times. But if it does come through this time, that automation significantly reduces the amount of work that has to be done by human beings, and what's always happened in the past, which is that some previous kinds of jobs are automated away, but then economic changes create other kinds of jobs. Let's say that doesn't happen this time. Let's say that just the overall amount of work that has to be done by human beings is reduced. Well, so let's go with a really extreme estimate, right? Let's say that 20% of the work that's currently being done by human beings, because of future automation, will be done by machines, and so there will just be only 80% as much work will be around to go around for human beings. So what does that mean? Does that mean that we give up on the idea of the right to work in the real sense, not the anti-union sense, the right to a job, the idea of a federal jobs guarantee, that the federal government would guarantee every single adult in the country who wanted a job? Should we give up on that? No. What it would mean is we should parrot, right? And I'm just even, we could talk about post-capitalist horizons and the way that with workers' controlled means of production, how this could work. But even in terms of an immediate reform agenda, exactly, it just means that we should parrot with a reduction in the number of working hours. If only if only three, I guess I said 3/5 earlier, but let's just make it simpler, right? Say if only 3/4 as much work needs to be done by human beings, then we should pair the demand for a federal jobs guarantee with the demand for a 30-hour work week with no loss of income. Why not, right? I mean, if the whole point of this work being taken away by machines is that the companies can make just as much profit or more, or more presumably, or else they just keep the humans, so the companies can make even higher profits, then absolutely we could just have a dramatic raise in the minimum wage and a significant reduction in working hours. Obviously, these things are incredibly politically difficult to make happen, but in terms of what our agenda is on the left, that should be it. Yeah, not the same kind of 3/5 solution. Yeah. And then really long term, of course, if instead of having a small minority of the population be business owners and everybody else having to go to work for them, if we had workers control the means of production, then automation would be great, right? Because every time some task that human beings had to do was automated away, workers could just vote themselves fewer hours with no loss of livelihood. So no question. Ooh, that's a good one. Darius, who is one of the best human beings in the world, being a patron, says, what would socialists prefer over Social Security for retirement? Yeah, that's a good question. So I think that the general idea of having some sort of social insurance, for retirement, that, that the state funds retirement, is a good one. I think the leftist objection to Social Security as it exists, I mean, obviously we want to defend it to the last breath against attempts by right-wingers or even like centrist Democrats who are, who might dream of some grand bargain to slash entitlement spending. Obviously, we need to defend Social Security to the death against those assholes. But as far as how we would like it to work, I think the left-wing objection to ooh, I'm going to steal that. Nationalize Applebee's. I'll bet that would be a good Jacobin article. But as far as as far as that goes, right? As as far as how we would prefer it to work, I think the big left objection to Social Security is just that it shouldn't be paid for with payroll taxes. That's a terrible funding mechanism, and it sure as hell shouldn't be paid for with payroll taxes with the kind of cap that has right now, that guarantees that really rich people don't have to pay as much towards it as everybody else does proportionally. That's insane. That should be the other way around. What do I owe you a Coke for? I'm missing something here. Oh yeah. Sorry for stealing your nationalize Applebee's idea. Fair enough. I owe you a Coke. So yeah. I mean, I think that we should, like, really what would be better is to just have retirement money, to have benefits for retirees, right? Whatever that system looks like in the future, just funded from just regular progressive taxation instead of this weird scheme with payroll taxes that we should just use standard progressive taxation to give everybody an amount in their retirement that's pegged to the rate of inflation, and starting with the average salary of a union worker at the time of retirement. I mean, that's just off my top of my head, but I mean, like, I think something like that, the core of the idea is there in Social Security, but I mean, that would be a much better way to run it. So I hope that answers your question, Darius. So I guess before I go, I will just say that if you like the content that we do here, if you want to support it and you want to support, lifting the cap on Social Security for damn sure. If you want to support the work that we're doing here, please do consider becoming a patron. So for $5 a month, you get early access to every episode. You get access to the Discord. You get Rania Calic would be fun. Let's do that. I like Rania. So you get access to the Discord. So basically discussion board. We do regular, at least a few times a month, Discord office hours, group voice chats with patrons. And we're going to be rolling out some more patron benefits in January when we start up after that break at the end of December. So please do look into that. So you get all that stuff for $5 a month, and more importantly, that helps us do what we do, and and all the people besides like our producer Forrest, who want to be able to pay good solid wages like as leftists we want everybody to be paid. So please do consider becoming a patron if you can possibly swing it. If you can't, I certainly understand. I have been there. Situations where $5 a month would have made that big difference. So if you can't become a patron at this time, please do rate and review wherever you get podcasts. That really does make a difference. Similarly, please like and subscribe here on YouTube. Getting very close to 10,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and it would make it would make me really happy if we hit 10,000 by the end of 2020. So if you haven't done that yet, please do hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Please do like this. Please do rate and review. And again, if you possibly can, please do consider becoming a patron. These things really do matter. They do make a difference. Going to put out, we have 2 more episodes this year mentioned earlier. So that is the episodes recorded over the weekend being released on Monday, right? Premiering as always on this channel, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Monday, with Anna Kasparian and the Libertarian Debate with Jason Lee Bias. And then the week after that, Amber Frost and Slavoj Žižek. And then we were on break for a week. And then we're going to be starting back up in early January with some format changes, some new content. Should be a lot of fun. So, and I'm really happy about where the show's at. You know, that it's we've only been doing this since the end of the summer, and it's already built up a lot. And so I really appreciate all of you, everybody who watches, listens, you know, shows up to live streams to ask questions, all of that stuff. You know, it's the support has been really good. It's humbling. I really appreciate it. So thank you, all of you. And before that next episode airs on Monday, I almost forgot, on Sunday, we're going to be continuing that Sunday night debate rewatch series with another Hitchens versus Hitchens one. So for the first one a couple weeks ago, we did William F. Buckley versus James Baldwin on racial justice. And I watched that with my friend and comrade Matt McManus. For the second one last Sunday, I watched the first of the two Hitchens versus Hitchens debates. Those are Christopher Hitchens versus Peter Hitchens. We watched the one in the Iraq War last week with Gene Bajalan and David Slavic, which was a lot of fun. And then this Sunday, in 2 days, going to be continuing that by watching the second Hitchens versus Hitchens debate, the religion one, with Jeremy Johnson, and I believe also philosophy professor Mark Warren. So, you know, those were always a lot of fun. So tune into that on Sunday at 5, and then the show itself on Monday at 7:30. Really appreciate all the support. Really appreciate all of you. Good stuff is coming up. Keep on watching. Left is best.